Hello everybody, my name is Raven Dragoon and I am going to be reviewing a replay by a user who goes by the name of Cat, who I am offering a replay review for. I believe on the Reddit he goes by Jimadine. He sent me 4 replays, 2 of which are expired, and he also sent a Phoenix game. The Phoenix game I think I don't need to review because his items look pretty good in that one, and his team did well and he did well personally. I don't see any issues with it. This one, however, I'm going to take a look at and just offer ways that we can play an early game rowing Spirit Breaker a bit more optimally. Probably should have loaded this before I started recording. Cool. So, first thing we look at whenever we're playing position 4 or 5, really any heroes, you want to look at starting items. This is the enemy team, so we'll look at them. Looks like you were initially lifestealer and then you swapped. So we can just play that through.
Prepare for battle.
Line starting items, I don't think he needs to start with a stick. Embers look okay, I guess. Not so sure about the Quelling Blade, but I guess if you really need some admit, that's okay. Boots first Bat Rider is probably fine. Now you're on Spirit Breaker. Cool. Now if you're doing a roaming Spirit Breaker, I don't know quite yet which lane you're going to. If you're doing a roaming Spirit Breaker, you probably want to be getting different items from this. Stout Shield is mostly useful against creeps, and it's mostly useful for when your support is pulling and you need to be running the creeps around your safe lane tower and last hitting them. Other than that, it does provide decent damage block. You have 5 armor right now, which is pretty good. Spirit Breaker's main advantage as an early game roaming hero is that
30 seconds to battle.
he might be slow, but he's very maneuverable because of Spirit Charge, or Charge of Darkness, excuse me. And he's just a threat everywhere on the map. Now, this guy just literally walked up and placed this. I believe you should have seen it. So keep an eye out in the early game for shit like that, because you can almost always, even in like 4K, even in some of the higher skill games that I play, you can get free D wards, because people will just walk up to here from Radiant side and then just ward right in vision of the tower. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I started with the sentry and I just got a free D ward. You have Orb of Venom queued up. You have Boots, Raindrop, Burn. Okay. We'll see how this plays out. I hope you get the Raindrops first, because Raindrops are really strong right now. Even if they didn't provide magic block, they would be excellent just as a way to get mana. I get them all the time. Even on supports that generally don't have mana problems, they're very good. On heroes that have mana problems, they're excellent. Oh my god, delicious, delicious water. Okay, looks like you're dual laning with this Bat Rider. I'm not so sure how I feel about this. I would rather that you go roam and punish this Invoker. Invoker sucks early game. Like, seriously, he's god-awful. He can't even Ghost Walk until later on when it's much faster. If you just bring a Dust to mid, it should be a free kill every single time. I would rather that you be going around through here and just walking up behind where the creeps get aggressive. Like, if you walk behind this range creep and we're just exploring through here, you could find the Rubik and just bully him, walk up to him, hit him. If you have an Orb of Venom, it's a lot of damage because Rubik is generally not fast, but I guess in this case he has a Boots of Speed. Tusk, you should be able to walk behind him and just Orb of Venom him. If you play this right, theoretically you can get him to burn a lot of his regen. Tusk doesn't have a whole lot. He started with the stick versus Bat Rider, which is pretty good. It's going to be kind of hard to kill him with Bat. I would just rather that you be roaming mid on this Invoker. Because right now you're not doing a whole lot. You're just standing here, denying. Always check enemy items. By now, you should know that the creeps would be about here if they had not been pulling, so you want to be walking towards this Rubik to try and punish that, because Rubik will eat a lot of damage. He starts with like 1 armor. You can at least burn a lot of regen. This guy started with nothing. If you had been walking towards him with Orb of Venom and just whacking him, he would have had to play it really conservatively. Let's see how you play this. Probably just whack him. Accidentally charge a creep. It's unfortunate. By this point, you should be whacking all of them, not trying to save your Batrider. Like, you could just be getting hits in. Okay, good. But like, for a good 15 seconds there, you knew they were trying to kill your Batrider. You knew they had wasted all of their spells and they were on cooldown for a while. So you could have just probably gotten that Rubik pretty low there. Because you don't have things that can save your Batrider, you can only really just hit things. Makes me wish you started with an Orb of Venom. Looks like you're pretty close to getting it now. Right now our Invoker's level 3. You could probably have him be suffering a little bit more if you've been spending time mid. And now look, your Batrider and you are both level 1. Batrider would be like level 2.5 if you've been roaming mid on the Invoker. When you play a position 4 or 5, you have to always be kind of sacrificial with your levels. Like, don't take XP soaking it. Don't soak XP in lane unless you're accomplishing something. Right now you're not accomplishing anything. Like, as soon as you saw this pull, you should just walk over, hit the Rubik, charge him, hit him. It would be easier if you had a ward. I forgot you didn't have a ward here. Yeah, just chase that guy. Nothing you can do. Waste his stun. I've gotten a lot of really stupid kills level 1 on people like Spirit Breaker or Bounty Hunter because you just walk up to people with Orb of Venom, hit them, and then they realize that they can't do anything about it, and then they die. It's really stupid. Like, I'll play Monkey King, I'll walk up to a Shadow Shaman level 1 as a rune contest, he's the only one there, and then he just dies to Jingu Mastery because he skilled Shackles or something, or Aftershock. Yeah, you should be really bullying these people. You've probably gotten like 15 right clicks on enemy heroes, and by now you should have gotten like 30. Let's just zoom through this a bit. Looks like you're going for some aggression. This is pretty good. Good. You're burning a lot of his regen. I like this. Now you really want those raindrops. Theoretically, you could just sit in lane and soak XP until the shrine is up, but Batrider needs to go home. This is a good opportunity for you to get levels. If you had been roaming, this is the point where I would say, now that Batrider is low health, you can go take over his lane and soak some of the experience. I do that a lot when I'm playing 4 or 5. Like, the mid will be low health and leave, or he'll go and gank somebody, and like, that's a couple levels, right? That's pretty important. You don't want that shit to just go to waste. Looks like you're getting the rune. I'm okay with that. You maybe could have just soaked XP from this, but now Batrider's here, so you can get the experience too. You didn't say what MMR this was, but this looks like a mid 2K game. I saw a lot of this stuff where Rubik would like brush Arcane Boots and start with no regen. You could have really punished this. Whenever someone starts with no regen, you should be salivating. Alright, let's keep going through. You haven't died yet, that's pretty good. But you should be accomplishing more. I like this. Okay. Alright, that's fine. See, the thing is, you could have played that slightly more perfectly and probably killed him. But almost killing someone is also pretty good because you either force them to walk all the way back to base, and that takes like a minute and 15 seconds. Or more like a minute, I don't remember. Or you force them to, you know, go shrine. This guy missed the shrine, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for you. Or you force him to burn a salve. Or burn tangos. And right now you really want those raindrops. I almost would have said raindrops before Magic Stick. Raindrops give you more mana regen than a Ring of Basilius, which is pretty crazy. I'll get rid of that. Yep. And 7 damage too, is pretty good. Well, if you get a Basilius. Looks like your Ember's... Well, let's look at last nice. Your Ember is doing pretty well versus the Invoker, but he's not really winning. It's basically pulling even. And there's a lot of divey shit going on bottom. If you had a TP, you could probably TP there and help, but you might not have enough mana. Again, mana is kind of the fuel that lets the early game happen. Now it looks like you're charging somebody. But you charge straight through mid, which means that now they know, unless they're dumb. Which they might be. You might die here simply because Ursa's so strong, but also Venge is out of mana. She has a stick, but not enough mana. That's gonna hurt. Whenever you play a roamer, you really don't want your ganks to fail. It's very unfortunate when that happens, but you know, if you at least burn some regen on the enemies, it's always good. The main principle that you need to remember is that even if you're doing shit like burning regen, you need to be at least have more regen than them. Like, say if I'm playing Jakiro and lane against, say, Weaver, and Weaver has one set of tangos and I have more regen than him, it's almost a free lane, because I can walk up to him, dual breath, clarity, walk away, pull, walk up, dual breath again, right click him a bunch, and if Weaver's low level, it's just free damage, and if I have more tangos, it's forcing him out of lane. This is the same principle you need to apply to playing Spirit Breaker. You need to make sure that you have enough regen at the start, you get a quick infused raindrop, so that you can charge on people and just be very aggressive. Because right now you're very strong. I think this is a mistake. She's going to stun you and Ursa's going to hit you really hard. Luckily your allies were there. I've had that happen a lot of times where my allies just are nowhere near. Alright, so you should get this guy. Stun. Great. Excellent. I don't know if you're communicating with your allies. Oh yeah, you said you were in the same party as this Lifestealer. Alright, that was great. Excellent. You need to get raindrops like now. You've been out of mana for a long time. Now's the right time to probably go get this rune and then stack this camp. Seems like you're going to go shrine. That's also a good thing to do. But I would get this rune and then stack this. It's like 8 seconds more time that you need to stay here. I forget to do this a lot too. I would be higher than Omar if I remember to do that a lot. Always, always, always be checking the time. It's very important. The clock is the main thing that dictates your early game. You need to always be aware of it. That was fortunate. You're gonna need Dusk or Stunlock. That's fine. Did you see what this line did? He hexed and then stunned immediately. It's called stacking stuns, where your disables are wasted because you're having them happen at the same time. When you're playing a hero with a stun like Spirit Breaker, you need to be cognizant of that fact. Don't charge somebody when they're already stunned. Charge them so that the charge will hit right as they come out of the stun. If you have 2 disables overlap, you're wasting duration, and that could be the difference between a kill and a barely alive enemy. Okay. I'm gonna start speeding through this. Looks like you're gonna get the other rune. That's okay. Now you have raindrops. Yeah, this needed to happen 7 minutes early. I would almost say you needed to start with Orb of Venom and then get raindrops ASAP, especially when you're not rolling. Yeah, great damage. You need to be doing this sooner because look how well this is working. Yeah, you died, but sure, you're a 4 position. You're getting kills. If you're getting kills on people who are more important, that's good. That Tusk has a lot of net worth, and you're killing him. That's an easy sacrifice. Seems like more shit's happening. I would have liked it if you charged on somebody and then canceled the charge before you got there. It's a pretty easy way to get across the map pretty fast. As soon as somebody shows, you should charge him. Got Tusk. You need Dust though. Luckily he's an idiot and still good at danger though.
Dire's middle tower is
Okay,
under
good.
pressure.
I want you to charge this Rubik. He's alone.
Dire's
Although,
middle tower is under
maybe you don't know that. Oops. Good. Yeah. You could have been doing this earlier, I would say. But this is good that you're doing it now. I'm glad that you're not just walking around. You could maybe charge on one of those guys if you're full health. Your Batrider's not going in, that's the problem. If you'd had your Lifestealer and Batrider keep diving, I think you could have done a lot there. Because what does Invoker have? He has like a really shitty Tornado. Pretty heavy damage Meteor. This guy's diving. He should die. Good. Need more TP response here. I would have liked it if your line had TP'd, but he's buying dumb items and not getting boots fast enough. As a rule of thumb, if you're playing 4 position or 5 position, your boots should not be later than like 9 minutes, even in the worst case scenario. Like, a lot of people do this shit where they buy too many wards, and then they say, oh, I have no money, but shit like this wouldn't happen if you're, or if shit like this weren't happening because you're positioning better, you would actually have money. Like, the whole reason you buy wards is to help your team, right? But if you don't have boots and you're a support like me, needs to be initiating on shit, that's a problem, and you need to get boots so you can help your team live and you can get clutch hexes and stuns in. So it looks like you went past a ward and they pinged you. That's why they're running. Good. Excellent. See, now that you have mana, you're doing a lot better. I guarantee you would have been out of mana for at least a couple of charges here if you hadn't gotten the urn. You would have had more mana early game if you got the raindrop sooner.
Radiant fortified their structures. Attack the heroes.
Looks like your team's grouping up. Good. You need detection though. Okay, you have it. Excellent. Go get the focus that guy down. Now time to leave. Can't get any of these guys. Run to the tower. For that works. Yeah, good choice. Looks like Ruben's charging or some shit. That guy should die. I don't know if your dust is off cooldown. Good. Yep. Good stuff. Good shit talk by the left there, by the way. Always good, keeping your opponents tilted.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
This Ursa's kind of low, but he has his ult, which makes it hard to kill. I hope Lifestealer goes on this. Hypothetically, you should have been testing. Now you died. So the reason why he did almost no damage to the Ursa is because he had his ult up. This is like an 80% damage reduction, which is pretty crazy. You need to be cognizant of that fact when you're ganking Ursa. You need to have stun lock, and in that case, all you had was a pretty terrible Lion player and you, which is not enough. You need to keep him controlled. So you said you were going to go Crimson Guard this game, or you went Crimson Guard this game to try and deal with the Ursa. That's not theoretically bad. I don't really like Crimson Guard as an item. I don't think I've really ever gotten it. It just doesn't, it feels really underwhelming by the time that you're at that point in the game, because people hit way harder than that. I'd say the item of choice to go is, if you're a 5 position, you need to be getting a Ghost Scepter. What is it? Oh my god, the pop-ups. So annoying. Ghost Scepter, 4 seconds of immunity to physical damage is fucking excellent against almost their entire team. The only person who really outputs a lot of magic damage is Invoker. But on Spirit Breaker, I would recommend going Heaven's Halberd, which is one of the best items for disabling people like TA, or other ranged right clickers, or even melee right clickers. Halberd lasts longer on range heroes, which is why it's great for range heroes. It's great to use against range heroes who really want to be right clicking, like TA or Huskar or Medusa. But it's very good against Ursa too, because his ult gives him bonus damage, and it doesn't last a whole long time. It lasts like 40 or 4 seconds, which is, you know, not much longer than the effect on melee targets for Heaven's Halberd, which is 3 seconds. So if you can waste like most of his ult, that's really good. You can. It also just adds to your ability to control the Ursa. And right now you can definitely see that the Ursa is most of the problem. That's a lot of their damage on their team, just the Ursa. This Tusk is going to do some stupid shit like go for a solo kill and then he's going to die. This is the point in the game where I would consider selling Orb of Venom. Because you now have open wounds at a higher level, which means he's got more cast range. You also have Lion with a longer duration stun and longer duration hex. And also you've just got more, you've got a blink on the Batrider. So the control of Orb of Venom that lets you get more hits in isn't entirely useful. This is the point where you leave. Alright. Hopefully, since you had this ward, you could have maybe dodged the tornado. Let's watch that again, actually. Okay. So you've got this ward. Oh no, it's glitched. Okay. So you can't see these guys yet. You now see the Ursa. So that guy came out of Invis, so there wasn't a whole lot you could do about this. The tornado was correctly aimed and the EMP really fucked you. This might have been an unavoidable death, but standing in the river trying to kill the Tusk is risky, because Tusk is pretty beefy, unless Lion drops a finger on him, which was, I think, off cooldown. You're not going to get him without his team coming in, because the shrine is like right here, as you can see. I think this is the case of perhaps as soon as you saw the Tusk, you needed to leave instead of just trying to stick around and kill him. You did have a hero advantage at the start of that, but it got turned around just because of the shrine. Looks like right now you're 6-3-4. That's okay. If you're playing this better, that could be higher. I think that's an okay KDA for an evenly matched game as a Spirit Breaker. You don't have a whole lot of lab hits, which I think is okay if you're playing a roaming Earthshake or roaming Spirit Breaker. But that's not what you need for a lane too much. Interesting fight. You need to be charging. Good. Alright. You can maybe get a kill out of this. Good. Go for the Rubik. Excellent. Alright, looks like Invoker's gonna get away, that's fine. Good shit. You don't do a whole lot of suicide charges, which is pretty good. That's important. However, based on how that fight went, you could maybe infer that they had a ward here. Sometimes I'm able to pick apart stuff like that, but when they have vision that seems a little bit too uncanny, you can infer that there's wards and take advantage of it. Alright, you're taking the tome. I'm fine with that. Looks like everyone on your team is almost the same level. Maybe you should have given it to Lion so you could have a level 2 Finger of Death, which is like a 60... It's like 1 minute less on the cooldown for Finger, which is pretty important. It means it's up a lot more often. And you have a very fight-heavy lineup already. Like, the cooldown on Infest is pretty low. It's about to be 75 seconds, so you could be taking fights more frequently if you had Finger of Death level 2. Alright, good escape, Mr. Amber Spirit. I think Shadowblade's pretty strong in low MMR games simply because people don't buy enough detection. You don't have other Invis heroes on your team, so it's not bad. I think Halberd is more important, however. Or if you're really poor, you could be getting a Ghost Scepter. Really, the way Ursa wins games is he just catapults off of an early game lead and he loves to fight. So you need to be making it difficult for them to fight. I think Urn was a good choice this game because of that, because it keeps your ultimate topped off. And if everybody's topped off, then it's difficult for Ursa to blink in and just pwn somebody.
Dire's middle tower is drowning.
That's unfortunate. You could maybe thrown an Urn on him and that would have done a lot. Looks like they got him there. Alright, I'm gonna rewind that just to absorb it all again. Okay. Lifestealer's farming, he's full health. Roper walks into the jungle alone. You guys have dust? This is a free kill. Looks like the stun barely missed. Great. Now you're chasing. Now this is maybe a bad idea, because you just use a lot of spells, right?
Dire's middle tower is under pressure.
Versus coming in. I almost wish you had kept that charge going, because then he stole charge from you and came in to get some pretty critical stuff off. And it wasn't like you were going to do a whole lot to the Ursa anyway. You just right-click for not very much. Looks like Ember's playing this pretty well, but you did lose a lot of people. Keeping support stunned when you're playing somebody like Spirit Breaker is pretty good. Same thing if I'm playing Night Stalker, I always try and throw the silence onto support some pretty critical spells if I see that they haven't used them yet. Man, if this guy had a stick, he would be able to TP out. Dead boy. Baby? Oh, looks like Lion's coming in. Should be fine. Lion's gonna die though. Yeah. I don't know if you caught that, but Magic Missile came in and then Rubik lifted like halfway through the stun. As I said, stacking stuns is really important to not do. It's wasting your duration on the disable. Especially if you're playing somebody like Rubik where your stun doesn't do any damage anyway. But I guess in that case it worked out because Lion is super weak and needs to be carrying raindrops or like a cloak or ideally Glimmer. I feel like if you're playing somebody like Lion who really wants to have a Blink Dagger, if you don't have that Blink Dagger by like 18 minutes or so, it's a problem and you should just ignore it. Generally, when you're deciding on whether or not to buy Blink, you need to evaluate this compared to the rest of your team's initiation. In this case, I think Lion was a poor pick, and you don't necessarily need to have a Blink because you have other forms of initiation. Alright, this worked out okay, but it's very clear to me that Lifestealer does not have enough items. And you shouldn't be trying this stuff unless you're at a slight advantage. Trying to gank like that when you're behind is very dangerous and oftentimes backfired. In this case, it went okay because your team was there and they TP'd to the shrine, but Lifestealer still died for it, so you didn't get much out of it. Like, he got almost none of the levels there. I don't think he got any experience, actually. In that case, it would have literally been better for your Lifestealer to just farm, which he's good at. Good chain. Alright, good Hex. Okay. Keeps playing this okay. I want Lion to ward while he's here. Alright, good. But the tower can see you through this path. So be careful about this. I would rather he place it like right there. If this Invoker's smart, you're just going to instantly deward it. But maybe they didn't catch it on the minimap. Alright, I don't like Venge's items, to be truthful. She has no health regen. She's gonna get a Force Staff, but I wish she'd done that before she got Aether Lens. Aether Lens is kind of weak on Venge. Versus items look fine. Good kill. Excellent. That did tell them that you have to move there. Fucked up. You walked a different way than the rest of your team and you might die for it. Oh. Yep. I do that sometimes. It always feels bad. too. If you charge right there, I think you would have lived before the snowball had hit. The recruit's visible bottom that you could feasibly down it to, or you just down to mid and just try to run. Alright, he's very lucky there. He would have died. Now he needs to come back. Good. That's why you always unit target it. First you at least. Okay. You're up to 23. Alright, let's just start speeding through this.
It's sinking. Just let it go.
Whenever you're buying a fat item like Shadowblade, and you find that you aren't getting gold very fast, be cautious about buying it piecewise, because when you buy a Shadowblade, neither of the components are very useful until you actually get the Shadowblade. Whereas if you're buying like a mech, the buckler's fucking great to hang on to, right? But a Shadowblade, I'd almost rather you buy it all at once, because what happens if, say, you see the enemy team got a gem, for instance, or some shit like that? It's like, do I really want a Shadowblade now, even though I commit half my gold to it by buying the Shadow Amulet? And then you can change your mind and go like Halberd, or suppose it's a different game, you can go something different, like maybe drums. So yeah, be cautious when you're buying things piecewise. Maybe it's not the best idea to buy them piecewise. When you're playing 4 or 5 positions, you think, oh, what do I do if I'm about to die and I need to spend my money? That's why you always put boards in your buy. That way, if you're about to die, you can buy the boards. You can survive. Right, I'm glad you're chasing the bench, because this guy was sufficiently controlled here, so. Okay. Theoretically, dust. Okay, great. You got the dust off. Alright, looks like you're dead. You have way too many urn charges, though. Just use these more. Urn was an excellent choice this game. Because you're fighting so much. As you saw, like, sometimes you'll buy Urn and then realize, oh shit, we're not even fighting. This was almost a waste of an item. The advantage of Urn is that you can keep your allies topped off in between fights. Remembering to Urn can sometimes net you kills. Like this guy, I don't know what health he was when he left that fight, but he could have possibly died if you'd earned them. Or your allies, if they enter fights at full health rather than 75% health, that can be a big thing. I think you win this game, but if I were watching this, I would have no idea who's going to win. It's pretty even. I think you have a slightly better late game lineup, unless Venge goes carry, in which case, I don't know. Venge can control Lifestealer through his rage, because Nether Swap goes through BKB. That's pretty important. She can also medallion through BKB, I believe. It doesn't say. But we'll see what happens here. You're all very fast. Somebody has drums and you're smoked and you have empowering haste. I thought this was on 1.5 for a second. If you saw a ward up here, you can maybe go for the root, but you don't see him. Whenever you smoke, always make sure you have vision of an enemy hero that you're trying to hunt. Otherwise, you get these situations where you just go through their jungle looking for something and realize you have no fucking clue where they are. I see that in a lot where people are like, oh, we're behind and I'm desperate and want to try hard, so let's go smoke and try and get a revenge kill because we're like down 20 kills. And this almost never works, because if you're forced into base, you're not going to have vision outside of your base, and you're just not going to be able to hunt down somebody without vision. Now that this ward is down, you can do it again, but you probably don't have another smoke. Yeah. Oh, that right, it does. But now you're split up, right? It's good that you're taking this tower. I like this. There's nothing for them to get bought. They shouldn't be grouped up there. So now you're basically just getting a free tower. Looks Looks like Invoker's TPing back. He's probably gonna Ghost Walk here.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Why did he Alacrity himself? Who knows? Oh man. This is strategy right here. This is... Yeah, I've seen people do this. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think this line should not be going Blink into Ags. He needs like Blink Ghost. He maybe should have just gone Ghost. Because your team has enough initiation right now. I like Ember's build. I think BKB is really important for him right now. He maybe needs mana.
Tower is under attack.
I think he maybe should have gone Linken's instead of BKB, instead of Linken's and BKB. Offers a lot of mana. Also, what I said about the raindrops earlier on in this match, it's not as useful to have raindrops if you have a Crystal Maiden on your team, speaking generally. Just because Crystal Maiden offers you so much fucking mana, it's crazy. Like, I will change my build based on whether I have a CM on my team. It's like Tusk is whining after he's going fucking Shadow Blade and Deso, which I find would be very questionable.
Deceptive rune of invisibility.
Alright, this is maybe a bit early on the Shadow Blade. It's gonna run out by the time you need it. Unless it's Rubik Shadows. Yep. One other thing, you can Shadow Blade while charging. That way you actually show up to somebody invis, whereas if you Shadow Blade in the past, it burns invis. Alright, now you're out of mana. You hate earning people. Like on cooldown. Right now, bench. Right now, you're gonna get these kills anyway because your team is playing more cohesively than theirs, and Tusk was whining. I think if Tusk had not been a whiny bitch this game, you might have lost. And there's a good, like, earning people properly is very important. Every time it's off cooldown. It's free mana. Or, it's no mana cost and it's free health. Now you're using it because you realize, oh shit, I need health and I don't want to go to Shrine. Yep. Unless Lion's about to finger it, which might. What's really interesting is that pretty much every carry in this game would have like way more last hits if this were a higher ranked match. People are better at finding farm, even the supports. Lion would have like 40 last hits just from pulling. It's a lot of money. Like, just one of the big things that I find is really important is just being able to find money on the map. When you next, if you're gonna send me support games, this is one of the things I'm gonna look at. Like, how efficiently are you getting money from the map? How are you using your time? One of my 5K friends said this as supports are the carries of the early game because they are so effective level 1. Like, Lion, if you choose to get it, has a level 1 2.5 second disable. It's pretty fucking good. You're probably going to get the Earth Spike just because it's 80 damage and 80 damage is good, and if you're contesting Rune, it's multi-target. But like, Hex is a damn good 1-point wonder. And like a Lion at level 2, maybe 3 so you can have mana, but a Lion at level 3 can gank mid and be really effective because you have like, you have 3.9 seconds of chain stun. It's fucking excellent. It's way more than enough for a mid to do stuff. But this Lion didn't do that this game. He didn't gank mid. He said, oh, I need Blink first. Which he really doesn't. He just needs to smoke and then just walk mid. And now he's going Axe, but he should be getting Point Booster first. Yeah, I don't really mind how you're playing this. You're playing pretty okay in the late game. You just need to remember to use your Urn. And I think as a team, you guys need to be doing more cohesive shit. When your team is doing this thing where it's like split up and farming, you should also split up and farm because you scale okay in the late game. I do this a lot when I play like Venger Jakiro, who can farm camps semi-fast. Like if your team's split up in farm or if your carries are dead, you should absolutely take farm. A lot of 4 or 5 position players think, oh, I can't take farm, I'm leaving that for my carries. But what happens if the camp is still alive when the 1 minute mark ticks over? I mean, like right then, this camp is still alive. But theoretically, if you're playing somebody who could farm faster, you could have cleared both of these camps just so you could get the free money, right? Or you could have stacked them. Like, every camp that spawns with creeps already in it is kind of a waste, and as a 4 or 5 position, it is absolutely your right to take those camps. If there's nothing better for you to do, which right now there isn't. You can also stack them if you're somebody like Disruptor who can't really farm camps. This Ember would be very happy to see some stacked camps because he has Maelstrom plus Flame card. I like this. Good. I don't know if you guys already used us. I think you did because this guy's not using his inventory. Alright, now Ursa's kind of scary. So, he has a 10-second BKB. If you had Halberd right now, Halberd does not go through BKB. However, if you Halberd and then he pops BKB, the activation of Magic Immunity does not purge the disarm, which is pretty fucking good. It means that if you get a time with Halberd off on somebody like Ursa before he BKBs, like now, and then he pops it, it's a waste. Yeah, like when he was Hex, he could have Halberd. Your Lion is going to be a dead boy. Yeah, he needs a... If he'd had a Ghost Scepter, he could have waited for the Blink Dagger to come off cooldown and then just blink across the river and TP'd out. Stuff like that. It's like you clearly need to not be going for eggs right now. This is another problem with how low MMR players play. They very, very, very frequently get items that they want to have, but not necessarily the best item to have. If you're serious about gaining MMR, you can't rush Ags as your first item on Jakiro. You have to get like Force Staff or Glimmer or Aether. Something that'll help keep you alive. When you're playing support, your main goal is to stay alive after the first bout of conflict, and then come in for the second bout after your spells have come off cooldown. For instance, I play a lot of Jakiro, and his spells, they have like 9-second cooldowns at max level. Oh man, they're really feeding. So, if you can just live long enough, you can cast your spells a second time, that's really big. If you're playing Spirit Breaker, you are trying to hit people, because you do hit pretty hard. Especially level 1. You just want to basically charge somebody, and then chase them long enough that you can maybe charge them for the finisher. Especially at like level 2, when you have Greater Bash. I'm just going to start skimming through this. Because I feel like not a whole lot is going to happen this finish. Alright, you're charging. Give up, which is probably the correct call because Batrider's down. You don't want to fight a 4v5. If they take this tower, it's no big deal. You don't necessarily have to defend tier 1s. Tier 1s are pretty unimportant. To be honest, so are tier 2s. When Purge did a series like Purge Teaches Day 9 Dota, he had like a whole segment where he talked about like how easy is it to defend tier 2s, and the answer is it's not, because the map around this is actually very hard to defend. They have so many entrances that you can come to try and attack the tier 2. Very frequently, I will say, you know what, fuck it, just give them the tier 2. It doesn't matter. It's almost never something that you should defend or can defend. Unless you have a significant numbers advantage or you have a great I think if you stick in Shadow Blade, you live. I think you should be throwing Murder's out of this is a mistake. You needed to do that when the shrine was actually up, so you could get one. And then if you had a Halberd, you could control the Ursa. Luckily, your team won that anyway. I'm gonna take another look at this fight because it's probably the last thing of importance in this game. All right. So we lose mid.
Just healed over.
Okay, so they have an Ursa with a BKB off cooldown and an Aegis. Rubik with Force Atos, Yules is pretty strong. Venge with Aether, Force, Medallion, Invoker with Yules, Ags. And you're at the front. Luckily you're smart and are able to dodge the magic missile. Lifestealer's over here farming, he's a little bit underfarmed. Actually he's pretty underfarmed, but you know, it's 2k, whatever. Alright, I am... Right here is where I am not so sure about this. You can see this guy. This guy. You know Ursa just went up here. You know Venge is here. You know they have a Medallion, which is like -7 armor, and they have Wave of Terror, which is also -6 armor. So combined 13 armor reduction, a stun, an Ursa, a bunch of controlling shit, and another stun. Even if you go into this and Lifestealer pops out, you're almost certainly going to die unless your team is right there. And Lion is out of position to do anything here. So this is already looking to me like something where I personally would not go on that. Looks like you're backing up, but you're going to charge the Invoker, I think. Let's see what you do. Alright, you smoked. It's not bad. Okay, so you charge the Ursa. That's probably the correct person to target. Or the Invoker. Both of those are good options. If your team has other options to control the Ursa, that's good. Lion needs to blink in, Hex, and stun. And Batrider needs to pick off somebody. Probably the Invoker. You get stunned. Lifesteal needs to pop out like now. Okay. So if you have 0 armor right now, it's very low. You're going to eat a lot of damage. And mid-cast, your Nether Strike got interrupted because you got drained of mana. Because you got drained before the cast went off. Looks like they're going to get this Invoker. You get stunned right after you use your charge. It's fine. Okay, this is starting to get scary because there's now an Enraged Ursa with DKD. You need to... I guess your charge is off cooldown right now. Ideally, you would have not used your charge on the Venge and let it get cancelled, but you would have waited and then charged him once they used the Shrine, because that could have brought you up to like half health. Now you're healing up. You needed to do that sooner so you could get more health back by the time you charge again. Yeah, you're getting like 3/4 of this turn. You could have got more of it if you used it sooner. Cast your Urn again on the Avenger or Ursa because it's done a lot of damage. Or cast on the Batrider. Alright. It's pretty good. But as you can see, when you watch your own replays or when you watch somebody else's, you can pick apart all sorts of stuff. If I watch this from a player perspective, I'm sure I could find more things like, oh, I guess you couldn't see this person at this time. Alright, there's probably going to be one more fight before this game's over. Alright, looks like you're charging Tusk. If you have Dust, this is great. You do not have Dust. He's not going to get away, actually, because he's not knocking. That's great. Also because that Tusk is feeding. Get the Invoker. That's pretty good. I know you cast that before you knew that guy was going to lasso. Maybe try to communicate with your team who's going to stun first, because the more stun like you have, the less likely this guy's going to get to Yule's out and just get away. Because now he's going to Ghost Walk as soon as he has the Invoke off cooldown. Yeah, you could have gotten that guy if you communicated with your Batrider on who's going to lasso first. That's why I always advocate having a mic even if you're not somebody who calls shots, because you can say things like, I'm just on first, and that's really useful. Cool. Okie dokie. Yeah, very, very late Crimson Guard. Late Halberd is fine because it's great, but a Crimson Guard that's very late just doesn't do much because it hits so hard. Alright, I like that you didn't go in there. Okay. You misses meter. That's pretty good. Now you're fucked because you got swapped. This is where having a BKB is not a bad choice, because there were a couple seconds there where you could have got the stun lock. Luckily, the Invoker is saving your ass. You might die though. Oh yeah, going back in is maybe a mistake because you could have lived. Shit. Yeah, stacking your stun, dude. If you know he's stacking, or if you know he's also, you could have done that more efficiently. Okay. Looks like you're gonna pull a bout in this fight. If this Tusk gets your bout, I really will. Maybe it's a bit more than even. Because your core's got money, whereas theirs didn't. Yeah. Okay. This is why I always say if you have a spare slot, you need to carry dust even if you're a core. The irony is that even in higher MMRs, Shadow Blade and other invisibilities are really good in the hyper late game where cores have not enough slots to carry dust, and supports also have not enough slots. Like a Lion with Blink, Aether, Ags, Ghost has one slot, and he has to decide whether to use it for TP Scroll or Dust. And if he forgets, you could easily get away. I forgot the Tranquils, but it's fun stuff. This is why late game pro teams almost always get a gem, because it means you only need one person to carry detection, especially next to Weaver where you have a purge. Like if I play Bounty Hunter and I have a Guardian Freeze, that means I have a purge for Dust, which means that the enemy team needs to carry not one, but Dust. If I have a Lotus Sword, I have now 2 purges for the Dust, which is extremely strong, and it means that the only way they're ever going to really get me is if I walk under a sentry and I get stunned, or if they have a gem. I hope you nether strike this guy. Alright, good. That was actually not bad, because you got out alive. If you don't use big abilities and you don't lose anyone, don't feel bad about running. It's, nothing lost, nothing gained, right? I think that was a good call there. Let me actually watch that, because I said I hope you stun this guy, but I probably wasn't looking at the screen. Totally. Okie dokie. Okay, so now, you know they've got 3 heroes here, a Tusk here, and you can probably infer that Ursa's not far away. You know they use Meteor, you know they use Tornado. Ursa blinks in. If he was about to kill your Batrider, the correct thing to do is to Nether Strike. But your Batrider got away, so I think the decision to Shadow Blade away is correct.
Is about to flounder.
And they dusted way too late. Another 2K thing is people don't know when to dust. They like forget they have it. Oh boy, that fight. Alright. I like that your ally used drums and you use the thing, but you might not get anybody here.
Same as you.
Oh man. Oh yes! That was a great pick. Now you're overextended, however. Need to earn. Somebody. It's like 150 pure damage. This guy would have been dead if he never didn't have to waste around in there. Even if you're already getting the kills, doing it with less spells and more items is generally good, because items are less important, I feel, especially something like Urn, where you've got 18 charges and a pretty short cooldown. Looks like you're gonna get this. Oh, I feel a pretty good game. You just need to optimize your first 15 minutes. Like, whenever you're playing 4 or 5, the first 20 minutes are always the most important, and the first item you buy is always the most important, because it's unlikely that you're going to get a second or third item in time for it to really impact the game. And the space that you create early can be really huge. You would have won this game faster if you made the game easier for your Ember and fucked over the Invoker. The Invoker had a couple of really good fights here where it was clear that he was highly leveled compared to the rest of his team. If he'd screwed up his lane more by just constantly going mid with maybe a smoke or just charging, he would have had a really rough time. If you're playing Night Stalker, same thing. If you're playing Bounty Hunter, same thing. Just go mid, sit on the Invoker, make him hate life. Game would have been faster. Your Ember would have had a better time than he already did. And then it means that your Ember is now free to go to another lane and kill shit, right? He could have made things for easier for the Lifestealer. In addition to this, because you're getting your XP from kills off of the Invoker, it means Batrider is getting solo experience in the offlane, which means he's going to hit a faster 6, which means he could get solo kills much faster. This is why I like to play support, because your decisions in the first 15 minutes, 15, 20, 25 minutes of the game, they're really important, even from level 1, level 2, and they can really just change things later. I have won my fair share of games as Bounty Hunter just by getting something crazy like 5 consecutive kills on the enemy mid. Because my mid is a high aggression hero, like Arc Warden or Quap, and I go mid as Bounty Hunter, and I just make the enemy Necro mid hate life, because Necro has nothing to do with it. Same thing for Invoker. Invoker doesn't have anything to deal with early aggression. Like, he needs at least level 2 to Ghost Walk, and when he does it, it's gonna suck because he's gonna be 30% slower, right? And if you bring Dust, he's gonna be even slower because Dust actually slows Invis targets by like 20 movement speed. I don't know if that's percent or movement speed. There are a lot of typos like that in Dota. Yep. Pretty good. Looks like your Spirit Breaker. I'd estimate this to be like a 2.5k Spirit Breaker. You need, but yeah, just polish up those things and you could rise pretty quickly. Alright, I'm gonna get to the next replay.